Have you ever felt that quiet tug in your chest when someone smiles at you, yet something inside whispers that something is off? Manipulators often move softly, slipping into your doubts and reading your silence like a map. I've seen how easily they twist confusion into control. But the Stoics taught another way, a clearer way, a calmer way. Stay with me, and let's step into it together. As we step into this first chapter, imagine a room packed with people speaking over one another, a place where every voice seems to fight for oxygen. Words collide in mid-air like sparks from metal scraping metal. You can almost feel the tension, that desperate rush to be heard, to be acknowledged, to not be the one left behind in the flood of noise. And as you stand there, overwhelmed by the frantic energy, your eyes drift toward a figure near the edge of the room. Someone who isn't scrambling, someone who isn't performing, someone simply watching, calm as stone beneath waves. There is no spotlight on them, and yet you can't help noticing them. Silence has a strange gravity like that, and maybe, just maybe, part of you feels a pull toward that stillness, a quiet longing to carry yourself the same way, to be the one who doesn't need noise to matter, the one who can sit in a storm without becoming the storm, the one whose presence speaks even when their mouth does not. Because deep down you sense what the Stoics always trusted. Real power rarely raises its voice. Noise distracts. Silence reveals. Now imagine stepping closer, feeling the difference between the chaos and the calm. The noise around you feels restless, impulsive, hungry. But the quiet person radiates something different, a kind of inward solidity, a kind of certainty that doesn't need reinforcement. And as you observe them, you realize something important. They are aware of everything happening in the room. They see the insecurities fueling the loudest voices. They notice the false confidence masking doubt. They catch the minor glances, the subtle shifts, the unspoken fears. They gather truths the noisy crowd will never hear. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." But how can you see those colors when your thoughts are soaked in noise, when your mind reacts before it observes, when your mouth moves faster than your understanding? You can't. Clarity grows like a seed in soil, and silence is the soil. Here's where the story deepens into something more human. There was once a young teacher, new to her career, full of belief that passion could overcome anything. She walked into a difficult classroom with fire in her chest, determined to win the students through enthusiasm alone. She explained, instructed, encouraged, constantly. She talked because she feared silence. She feared losing control if she ever stopped. But the students sensed her insecurity. They mocked her eagerness, challenged her, interrupted her mid-sentence. With every attempt to speak louder, she was heard less. By the time winter came, she cried on her commute home more days than she didn't. One afternoon, defeated and running out of hope, she passed by another classroom. The teacher inside was older, quieter, standing still at the front, like someone who had mastered not just the subject, but himself. He spoke softly, never rushed, never anxious. Yet the students listened to him with a respect that didn't need to be demanded. She watched in disbelief as he brought order without raising his voice. Each word he chose felt intentional, sharpened by silence, polished by observation. After class, she asked him how he commanded such attention with so little effort. He looked at her with a small smile, one that held both gentleness and certainty. "When you stop needing to prove you're in charge," he said, "they start to believe you are." It wasn't advice, it was truth. A truth she had ignored in her frantic need to be heard. From here, the lesson changes shape. because this is not about classrooms, it's about life. The world today rewards noise, constant updates, constant commentary, constant performance. People broadcast every intention as if they must justify their existence. They fill silence with explanations, opinions, reactions. But the Stoic knows better. The Stoic watches. The Stoic listens. The Stoic conserves energy like a warrior saving arrows until the moment a single one makes the difference. When you choose silence, something remarkable happens. People reveal themselves without realizing it. The boastful speak their fears. The arrogant expose their doubts. The insecure confess their longing. Every unnecessary word they say paints a small map of their inner world, and the one who listens collects these maps quietly. Understanding begins where noise ends. Now picture a new scene. A company hits a sudden crisis. Meetings erupt. People scramble to sound helpful. Voices clash. Advice flies in panic. The room becomes a battlefield of anxious ideas, each person fighting to be noticed. But in the corner sits one employee, silent, not uninvolved, aware, watching, listening, studying the patterns beneath the panic. They don't rush. They don't fidget. They don't masquerade confidence. They simply observe until the truth rises from the chaos, like a shape forming in fog. When they finally speak, it's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it is precise, and that precision cuts through hours of noise like a blade through cloth. Suddenly, the room shifts. The quiet person becomes the anchor everyone needed. This is the power of silence as strategy, not silence as retreat. And that's where the deeper transformation begins. When you stop reacting to every pull, you begin to feel the contours of your own mind. You hear your own thinking without interruptions. You notice when your ego pushes you to speak too soon. You sense when your impatience is trying to hijack your responses. You observe your own impulses with the same clarity you bring to others. That is self-mastery. The Stoic does not suppress emotion. The Stoic watches emotion until it reveals the truth beneath it. Now imagine someone tries to provoke you. They insult you publicly. They expect a reaction, a defense, a counterattack. But you stay silent for a moment and watch their face. That brief pause unsettles them. They were expecting fire, not stone. They were prepared for battle, not stillness. And in that moment, you gain something rare. The power to choose your response instead of letting the situation choose it for you. Nothing disarms hostility like a person who cannot be baited by noise. Consider another moment. You're in a conversation with someone who talks endlessly, revealing more about themselves with every sentence. If you say nothing, they fill the silence, over-explaining, exposing motives, contradicting themselves. Silence becomes your spotlight, because while they speak without thinking, you think without speaking, and by the time you do speak, the weight of your words is undeniable. At this stage, imagine what it would feel like to walk through life with this kind of quiet certainty. To know you don't have to react. To know you don't have to fill every silence. To know you don't have to prove anything. The less you speak, the more you see. The more you see, the more power you hold. And slowly, people begin to adjust themselves around you. Your calm becomes a mirror. Your silence becomes a standard. Your presence becomes something they cannot ignore. So speak less. Observe more. Let silence sharpen you, steady you, strengthen you. In a world drowning in noise, silence becomes the ground you stand on, steadying you while others slip. Because when you master the quiet, you don't just understand the world more clearly. You begin to shape it, quietly, intentionally, and with a power that noise will never touch. As we step into this second chapter, picture a world glowing with constant noise, a world where everyone announces their plans before they take a single step. It feels loud, restless, overcrowded with declarations. Yet somewhere in that noise, there is a different kind of presence, a quieter one. A person who moves with purpose but no announcement, whose footsteps carry more weight than the loudest promises. You notice them before you understand why, and maybe a part of you wishes you carried that same quiet force. Now imagine this. You wake up before sunrise, the sky still heavy with night. Most people are asleep, dreaming about who they want to become. But someone out there is already moving toward it. No post, no proclamation, no hint to the world, just the steady rhythm of doing what must be done. There is a kind of nobility in this, a kind of discipline that speaks louder than any declaration ever could. The Stoics lived this truth. Epictetus reminded himself, "Decide who you wish to be, then act accordingly. No ceremony, just action." And in that simplicity lies a power most people never touch. Let's step into a story that captures this spirit with startling clarity. In a busy city hospital, amidst rushing stretchers and echoing footsteps, worked a young woman assigned to janitorial duties. She moved quietly, unnoticed by most, always early, always diligent. While others filled their breaks with conversations, she sat in a corner, reading worn medical textbooks. Every page she turned was a promise she made to herself, not the world. At night, she borrowed old study materials from interns and returned them silently, her eyes carrying more determination than any speech could express. No one knew what she was building. Then, one afternoon, a patient collapsed in the hallway. Panic rippled through the moment. No doctors in sight, no nurses nearby. But she was there. She recognized the signs she had studied alone in the cafeteria. She reacted with precision, performing CPR until help arrived. Her hands moved with the confidence of someone who had prepared for years. A physician, astonished, asked how she knew what to do. She simply said, "I've been learning." It turned out she had been studying in silence, applying to medical school privately, shaping her future with the quiet resolve of a Stoic craftsman. Within a year, the mop was replaced by a white coat. Not because she spoke loudly, but because she acted relentlessly. Here's where the truth sinks in. We live in a culture obsessed with performance. People announce every intention. They post their goals. They broadcast every minor victory. They spend more time showing effort than making progress. But the Stoic sees the trap. Energy used to impress others is energy stolen from shaping oneself. When your actions are real, you don't have to talk about them. They arrive with a force that cannot be ignored. You don't chase attention. Attention rearranges itself around you. Now imagine two people beginning a creative project. One tells everyone, a big project is coming, big things ahead, and months pass with no progress. Only words. The other one speaks to no one, wakes before dawn, writes quietly, edits late at night, corrects mistakes without complaint. A year later, a finished work appears. No build-up, no tease, just proof. And strangely, the silent one is the one people admire because real accomplishment doesn't beg for attention. It commands it. From here, something deeper reveals itself. When you stop explaining yourself, you reclaim your energy. You stop performing. You start building. You stop waking early to prove discipline. You wake early because the work matters. You stop enduring hardship to look strong. You endure it because strength is being carved within you. You train your mind and refine your character not for applause, but because the Stoics taught that virtue is its own reward. Excellence is the only approval worth seeking. This is where another scene enters. In a corporate setting, two employees are competing for a promotion. One constantly reminds everyone how hard they work. They rehearse lines of self-praise, make sure management hears every late-night effort, every small sacrifice. The other simply delivers. No announcements, no self-advertising, no dramatics, just clean execution, clear results, quiet reliability. And when the decision arrives, the silent one steps into leadership. Because there is something magnetic about a person who does not chase recognition. The world leans toward those who don't demand attention, but earn it. Seneca captured it best when he wrote that reputation should follow virtue, never precede it. When your life is built on discipline, instead of display, your accomplishments stand on their own. They speak with a voice stronger than anything you could have said out loud. The world respects results more than declarations, and the quietest people often create the loudest impact. At this stage, consider what it would feel like to set your goals in private. To write them down, seal them quietly in your mind, and then focus every day not on announcing them, but becoming them. Imagine sharpening your skills alone, without witness. Imagine building habits when no one is watching. Imagine failing in silence, correcting yourself, rising again without needing the world to applaud your resilience. This is how discipline becomes identity. This is how excellence becomes inevitable. And here comes the turning point. When your results finally appear, they won't just reveal what you've done, they'll reveal who you've become. A person who does not speak to prove. A person who does not act for display. A person whose presence is built from the inside out. Let others seek credit. Let them boast. Let them scatter their energy in every direction. Your task is simpler, sharper, and infinitely more powerful. Become undeniable, because in the end, true greatness does not need to shout. It walks into the room quietly and everyone feels it. Let your actions be your voice. Let your consistency be your presence. Let your results be your echo. And may the silence behind your work carry more strength than the loudest words around you. Entering this third chapter, imagine yourself standing at the edge of a field right before a storm. The sky is heavy, the wind shifting, and every sound feels sharper than usual. You don't know what will break first, the clouds above you or the tension inside your chest. But in that moment, as the world begins to stir, you understand something quietly terrifying. Most people aren't destroyed by what happens to them. They're destroyed by how tightly they hold on. They cling to outcomes. They cling to praise. They cling to fear. They grip the world so desperately that the moment it shifts, they shatter. And you can feel how easily you could shatter too. Now imagine a different kind of strength rising inside you. A strength that doesn't come from distancing yourself from life, but from holding it with open hands. A strength that lets you show up fully, even vulnerably, without chaining your peace to what happens next. That is detachment, not coldness, not indifference. Freedom. Freedom from the things outside your control. Freedom from outcomes you cannot guarantee. Freedom from the invisible threads that pull most people like puppets. Marcus Aurelius captured it perfectly. Receive without pride. Let go without attachment. A simple sentence that feels like a doorway into an entirely different way of living. A way where you can care deeply without being owned. A way where you can love fiercely without crumbling. a way where you can pursue excellence without letting failure define you. But to live like that, you must first understand how most people live. Most people are ruled by compliments, ruled by criticism, ruled by outcomes, ruled by moods, ruled by the shifting weather of other people's opinions. Their identity rises when someone praises them and collapses when someone rejects them. Their confidence spikes with a win and crashes with a single setback. They live like their self-worth swings on a fragile wire. And because of that, they are easy to predict, easy to manipulate, easy to break. Here's where the story takes us deeper. There was a young chess prodigy with brilliance that shined like a blade but cracked like glass. In practice, he was unstoppable, calm, focused. But tournaments were different. When the room filled with spectators, with pressure, with expectations, something inside him shifted. A single mistake sent him spiraling. A smirk from an opponent derailed his strategy. The whisper of the crowd pulled him out of himself. When he won, he soared. When he lost, he shattered. He didn't realize he wasn't playing the opponent. He was playing his own attachment to the outcome. One year, a new coach arrived. An older man with the composure of someone who had already fought every battle that mattered. Instead of drilling tactics, he gave the boy a rule that felt like a paradox. Play each move as if you don't care who wins. The boy resisted. He argued, "How can I win if I don't care?" The coach simply said, "You're not losing to your opponents, you're losing to your attachment." The boy didn't understand until he forced himself to try. During the next match, whenever panic rose, he reminded himself, "Just this move." Whenever pride surged, just this move. Whenever fear choked him, just this move. And slowly, something loosened in him, something softened. He stopped trying to prove himself. He stopped reacting to every shift. He stopped fighting ghosts the audience couldn't see. And with that release, everything sharpened. His game became calmer, cleaner, stronger. He played not for applause, not for identity, not for victory, just for the integrity of the move in front of him. And ironically, that's when he won. He didn't win by abandoning desire. He won by refusing to let the result become his master. That's detachment in action. From here, imagine moments in your own life where you lost peace because you clung too tightly. A conversation where you needed to be right, a relationship where you needed to be chosen, a career step where you needed to succeed or you felt worthless. The event didn't undo you, your attachment to it did. Attachment turns life into a battlefield you can't win. Detachment frees you from it. But the world misunderstands this. They hear detachment and assume it means coldness or emotional withdrawal. But the Stoic version is the opposite. It's engagement without imprisonment. It's caring without collapsing. It's showing up with everything you've got, then letting life unfold without begging it to go your way. The Stoic does not pretend not to care. The Stoic refuses to let caring destroy him. Now picture someone insulting you in a crowded room. Most react instantly. They defend, they argue, they posture, they let the moment dictate their worth. But the Stoic stays still, not because he is weak, because he knows his dignity is internal. The insult bounces off a wall the other person cannot see, the wall of someone whose worth isn't handed out by strangers. Or picture someone walking away from your life, a friend, a partner, a business ally. Many would cling, chase, plead to keep them from leaving. But the Stoic remains grounded. He feels the loss, yes, but he does not chain himself to what he cannot control. He lets the departure move through him without running after it. That is not apathy. That is mastery. At this stage, ask yourself the questions most people avoid. What is truly yours? Your intentions, your choices, your courage, your honesty, your character. That's where your power lives. Everything else, the approval, the outcomes, the reactions, the fluctuations of the world, those things were never yours. When you stop gripping them, they stop gripping you. Let me take you into another scene. In a quiet town, hidden behind rows of old brick shops, lived a leather craftsman. His hands were old but steady. His workshop small but warm. Every morning he arrived before sunrise, sharpening his tools, preparing the day with calm ritual. Some days he sold much. Some days he sold nothing. But he never rushed, never complained, never changed who he was to chase profit. When asked how he remained so steady in uncertainty, he laughed softly. "I'm not here to control the market. I'm here to practice virtue through my craft." People didn't come for the leather. They came for the man, for his steadiness, his presence, his peace. That is the magnetic force of detachment. People are drawn to those who want nothing from them. Because here's the truth. If you cannot be controlled by praise, you cannot be controlled. If you cannot be destroyed by criticism, you cannot be controlled. If you cannot be manipulated by fear or loss, you cannot be controlled. You become the rarest kind of human, unpredictable in the best way, untouchable in the quiet way, unshakable in the way that makes others sit up straight around you. And yet, the most important transformation is the one inside you. When you stop tying your worth to outcomes, you breathe easier. You stop fearing failure. You stop needing applause. You stop chasing people who are walking away. You stop living for things that never satisfy. And you start living for what actually matters: integrity, presence, mastery. So imagine living this way for the next year. Imagine giving your best to everything you do, then releasing the outcome with open hands. Imagine loving fully, but without clinging. Imagine trying boldly, but without fear. Imagine letting go when life tells you it's time. The one who can do that, the one who can move through life unattached yet fully engaged, is invincible, because you cannot defeat someone who needs nothing from you. So learn this art. Give everything. Hold nothing too tightly. Show up fully. Release completely. That is where your real power begins. As we step into this fourth chapter, imagine a world shaking under its own weight, a world where people bend with every opinion, crack under every criticism, and drift with whatever wind blows the loudest. In this world of shifting sands, the rarest sight is a person who stands firm, unmoved, grounded not in arrogance but in character. A person whose steadiness feels like a lighthouse in a storm. A person who carries a quiet strength that cannot be borrowed, bought, or faked. That is the strength we are here to build. A life that doesn't break. Now imagine yourself walking through a crowd where everyone is rushing for validation, chasing approval, and scrambling to protect fragile reputations. The air feels thin, like everyone is holding their breath, terrified that the smallest challenge might expose them. But somewhere in that crowd, you notice someone different, someone calm, someone who moves without panic, someone who looks like they've already answered the questions the world keeps shouting. Their peace doesn't come from easy days. It comes from who they decided to be long before the tests arrived. Marcus Aurelius captured it with painful clarity. Just that you do the right thing. The rest doesn't matter. It sounds simple, but simple things often terrify people because doing the right thing becomes hardest when the world is watching. Here's where the lesson begins to take shape. I once knew a teacher in an overcrowded, underfunded school. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't loud. He didn't chase attention or praise. He simply showed up every day with the same unshakable focus. Some teachers complained about the system. Others compared themselves to colleagues. Many had already given up on the students, but he didn't waver. His work was never about applause. It was about integrity in action. Then, one year, a storm hit. A student falsely accused him of being unfair. The rumor spread like wildfire. His name was dragged through hallways. His job hung in the balance. Most people confronted with that kind of injustice panic. They fight, they shout, they cling desperately to reputation. But he didn't break. He kept teaching. He kept showing up. He held himself steady in the fire. And when the truth finally rose to the surface, people remembered not just his innocence, but his dignity, his calm, his refusal to let the chaos shape him. This is where the heart of Stoic character reveals itself. Life will test you. You will face criticism you don't deserve. You will experience loss you didn't expect. You will be judged unfairly. You will be disappointed by those you trusted. These things are not exceptions. They are part of being human. The real question is not, how do I avoid being hurt? It is, who am I when the hurt arrives? Because everything outside you can be taken. But the person you choose to be is yours alone. And that person is forged not by comfort, but by pressure. From here, imagine yourself standing in front of a mirror on a difficult day. Not the kind of mirror that shows your reflection, but the kind that shows your character. Ask yourself, what do I stand for when no one is watching? Do I compromise when things get hard? Do I shift my values to fit the moment? Or do I hold steady even when it costs me? Stoic strength begins in silence. In the decisions made when the world is asleep. In the choices no one applauds. Seneca wrote that the good person is invincible, for they do not give in to what is not under their control. And this invincibility doesn't come from steel armor. It comes from a spine of principle. Let's step into a quieter story, one less dramatic but equally powerful. There was an old leather worker in a quiet town, tucked behind a small marketplace. His shop was unremarkable on the outside, but inside, every piece he made carried the fingerprint of devotion. Each cut, each stitch, each detail was crafted with patience. He never advertised, he never bragged. Some months he sold many pieces, others almost none, but every morning he arrived early, lit a small lamp, sharpened his tools, and worked, not for success, not for recognition, but because the craft was a reflection of his soul. When asked why he remained so calm through unpredictable seasons, he smiled and said, "I am not here to chase outcomes. I am here to practice virtue through work." People didn't just buy his leather, they bought the quiet confidence of a man whose character didn't swing with the market. This is where the lesson grows deeper. Character is built in the hidden hours. When you choose integrity over convenience, effort over ease, truth over popularity. When you stay honest, even when lying would be easier. When you stay calm, even when anger burns hot. When you stay patient, even when the world rushes you. These moments feel small, forgettable, invisible, but they are bricks, and each brick builds a foundation that does not crumble. As we move forward, imagine a storm rolling across the sea. Huge waves, shrieking wind, shifting tides. Most people are like small boats, tossed, thrown, battered by every wave of opinion, every gust of criticism. But the Stoic aims to be something else, a well-anchored ship. You may not control the wind, You may not calm the waves, but you will not be swept away. You will not drift off course whenever the world shakes. Your anchor is the person you have chosen to become. At this stage, there is one question worth asking each night. Did I live by my principles today? Not did I win. Not did they praise me. Not did the world go my way. Just, did I stay true? If the answer is yes, even once, even in the smallest way, you are building something no storm can touch. And yes, this path is lonely at times. The world celebrates speed, noise, trends, applause. But you're building a slower strength, a quieter power, one rooted in virtue rather than attention. That's why it lasts. That's why it matters. Here's where the truth sharpens. Every time you respond with patience instead of rage, you strengthen your core. Every time you choose dignity over validation, you elevate yourself. Every time you do the right thing when no one is watching, you become someone who cannot be shaken. And in the end, you won't need to prove your worth. You won't need to announce your principles. They will radiate from the way you stand, from the calm you bring, from the steadiness you carry when others fall apart. So don't aim to impress, aim to endure. When the world trembles, the one who has forged himself with intention simply holds. He simply remains, quiet, composed, unmovable, and this is how a life becomes unbreakable. True strength is often quiet, steady, and almost invisible to the untrained eye. It is not the kind of strength that shouts or demands recognition. It is the kind that survives storms without cracking, the kind that remains rooted even when everything around it begins to shake. The Stoics understood this well. They knew that the greatest battle any person fights is the one inside, the challenge of keeping the mind clear when emotions rise, of staying centered when pressure builds, of choosing virtue even when no one is watching. Mastery of the self is not found in dramatic victories. It is found in the simple, repeated act of choosing who you want to be. Epictetus taught that no person can be free without first ruling themselves. That kind of freedom does not come from controlling people or predicting outcomes. It comes from refusing to let the chaos of others dictate the state of your own mind. It comes from stepping back when manipulation tries to pull you in. It comes from breathing before reacting, from observing before believing, from holding your ground rather than surrendering your peace. When you begin to live this way, something shifts. You stop being entangled in the intentions of others. You stop trading your clarity for confusion. You stop letting noise bury your inner voice. So as you move forward from this moment, let your steadiness become your quiet armor. Let your discipline guide the choices you make when no one else is there to see them. Let your calm be the reminder that true strength does not need an audience. You do not have to prove your power. You only have to live in alignment with it. And when you do, the world will feel it without you saying a single word. If this message meets you where you are, consider subscribing so we can continue this journey at a pace that strengthens you. And if you want to mark your presence in this space of clarity and resilience, comment below with the words, "Stay steady." Thank you for being here. Keep your mind clear, keep your heart strong, and keep moving with intention. There is more waiting for you, and the next step begins soon.